Hey, I'm Jamie from Vocal and Marker. It's Tahoe Mountain Sports, and we're doing the Vocal Marker Clinic tonight. Any boot, anytime that's exactly what it means. Any boot, anytime. Non-touring. So if you have a Marker Duke, if you have a Marker Baron, if you have a Marker Lord, or the Tour 12 or the Tour 10, any boot, anytime. That's like your most aggressively rockered AT boot can go in there and safely release to DIN standards. Now, you can cram this in any binding you want to and go down the hill. Good luck. Hope you make it and you don't blow your knee out. You will release properly if you set it up properly on the Lord, on the Baron, on the Tour, and Duke. So, what's that for? Why would you want to run a AT boot in a binding that doesn't tour if you're boot packing? If you really like your Scarpas and want to ski in the resort with them but not deal with a touring binding in the resort. It's called the Lord S.P. SP stands for Ski Patrol. So a lot of ski patrollers like this because, they don't want to run plug langs when they're kicking around and pulling people out of tree wells and, boot packing up to grab somebody. So that, they run the full Vibram sole, and they don't need a Duke or a Tour or something else that the heel can release just for their day to day.
So this one's flush. So for your normal DIN sole versus right there on your rocker, Scarpa, Scott, whatever, Vibram sole. So you have right in here. Those are the different heights right there.
This 80-20, 80% backcountry, 20% chairlift. It's not as hardcore as a Dynafit guy, but if the guy's kind of like, oh, I'm getting into it, I don't want to buy new boots with the tech dealies on it, you can put him in this. He can keep his old Nordicas or whatever that he loves and keep one boot and have a dedicated backcountry setup. Our deal, as opposed to some other touring bindings in the market, ours is underneath the boot. Easy little, right there. Up, you're walking. Okay, you go back 4 centimeters on the ski. So we're like, remember back in the day when you're mounting Fritchies, you're kind of like, ooh man, I'm always too forward on my explosives because they're planks, but I don't want to be touring and have my ski come up and hit me in the face. So there was always kind of a deal on a binding with just doesn't slide. So this slides back, so it allows you to be in the balance point of the ski when you're touring, so that your ski doesn't come up and hit you in the crotch or something while you're touring. And then when you put it into ski mode, you gain 4 centimeters, so you're in a more kind of progressive place on the ski. You're not going to phantom telly in this unless for some reason you're a dummy and you don't get it locked in the right way. So yeah, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. 3 positions, flat, and then 45, and all the way up if you're on some steep. Quick on the DIN, like 16 DIN, 13 DIN, 12, 10, we're not maxing these springs out. Like I run Jesters and a Duke, which is 16 DIN, and I set my DINs on 12, right? So you don't want to max the spring out. Like you don't want to be, oh cool, I run a 12, I'll get a Baron, that's 13. No, you're 12, you're Duke. You want to be in the middle of the spring. You don't want to be, because if you were to crank a DIN spring all the way up, it freezes and you lose the elasticity in the binding. So those hot dogs that are like throwing their skis up on the table there at the bottom of the lift and cranking their DINs up, be like, I'm gonna go shred, bro, and they crank it all the way up to 16, they're just screwing themselves, So this is the Baron, has EPF, extended power frame, which is a wider platform than the model before. And what that does is just quicker power transmission right down to the edge. Wider is better, that old like Nissan commercial, I think, with the Hawaiian guy. So the difference between this and the Duke is the Baron's 13 DIN, the Duke is 16. Plastic, 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 metal, 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 metal on the Duke. So that's your difference between like a guy or a gal who's, maybe like, I want the wide, I want the, retention of the Duke, but I'm not quite, I don't need a 16 DIN. I only ski at a 6 or a 7. You sell them a Baron, they're gonna be fine. A lot of folks don't need metal on their binding to hold them in. You got a guy who's like 160 pounds and he's, charging KT or, jumping off cliffs in the backcountry. He's got a snowmobile, He's a Duke guy, and that's going to hold you in more so with the metal on it and the higher din. It's going to be, you know, a rowdier, stouter binding than the Baron. Now, can the Baron work for 90% of the people that are going to backcountry ski? For sure. You know, but that extra 10%, guys that break stuff, there's a lot of guys like that in town, so they're on Dukes. But Baron for everybody else.